It says, all his days, they did not turn away from following the Lord, the God of their fathers. So he led them to follow the ways of God all the days that he was king. And I think this is very rare for any of the kings, as you well know. Most of them either didn't serve God at all or served initially and then fell away. Welcome back to the Made to Be Men podcast. In this episode, Josh and I discuss our top 3 most overlooked or underrated Bible characters. Listen along to see if you recognize any of the names we mentioned. We also discuss what it means to know the truth. And lastly, we discussed what it means to dwell in the presence of God. So hope you enjoy this episode and we'll see you next time. Josh, welcome back. Episode 2 of our new format. Last week, we talked about greatest Bible characters, right? And I said we would do the most underrated, or you could say the most overlooked characters this week. You mentioned one last time, which was Benaiah. Do you have any additional ones for us other than Benaiah you want to share?
Yeah, I've got my 3 in my mind, so I'm ready to go, including Benaiah.
Right.
Benaiah. But yeah, do you want to do the first one?
Yeah, can do. Mine all start with the same letter. Their names.
J.
Right?
J.
Yeah, Jay. Yours, Jay.
They're all different letters.
All different letters. Okay, interesting. Okay,
Well,
my
yours are
first one.
all Old Testament.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. We could. Yeah, I'm sure there's some New Testament, but I didn't cover
Let me
it.
guess some of yours.
Go on then.
Jehoshaphat.
No, although he could have been one. He's not in my 3, but I'm sure he could have been one.
Yeah.
Have another guess.
It won't be Joshua because he's too obvious. Joel.
No, but again, I don't know too much about Joel, to be honest.
Joseph.
That probably suggests he could be underrated. No. So I think Joseph's pretty highly rated.
Big dog. Yeah, big dog.
Yeah, big dog.
Jacob.
No, again, big dog, I think.
All
right, I'll tell you my first one.
Wait, hold on. One of them's at least a king, right?
Yeah.
Jehu.
No. One of the youngest kings. He started as one of the youngest kings. I think the second youngest. No. I think he was, in fact, he might have been the youngest, or I think he was the second youngest ever.
Jehoiada?
No.
What's the second letter? I know this is absolutely pointless, but what's the...
It's O. I'm just going to tell you now.
Joash?
No, so it's Josiah.
Oh, okay.
King Josiah. So yeah. I think he's probably the most underrated on my list because not a lot of people reference King Josiah in terms of talking about great men in the Bible and things like that. But let me give you a few facts about Josiah, right? He became king at age 8, which, yeah, if you become king at 8, probably at first don't really know what you're doing. But it says of him in 2 Chronicles 34, verse 2, it says he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord and walked in the ways of David, his father. He did not turn aside to the right or to the left. So he started to seek God even after becoming king at age 8. At age 16, he cut down all the altars of Baal, the Asherim, the high places, all the idols in the land of Judah. He got rid of them, right? So he's taking this seriously. So he gets rid of the high places, the altars, the idols. And then he repairs the temple. After he started repairing the temple, they found the book of the law somewhere in the temple. It had been lost for years, right? So they found the book of the law. This was when he was 26. After they found it and they came and read it to him, he tore his clothes, in anguish because he realized they hadn't been living by God's standard, right? So he was serious about living by God's standards. And because they didn't have the book of the law. They hadn't been living by it. So he was in anguish because of that. So he had everyone gather in one place, had the book of the law read to everyone, and then said, from today on, we're following this. We're going to live by God's way. In verse 33, it says, all his days, they did not turn away from following the Lord, the God of their fathers. So he led them to follow the ways of God all the days that he was king. And I think this is very rare for any of the kings, as you well know. Most of them either didn't serve God at all or served initially and then fell away. Now, I will note, he did die in battle because he didn't recognize the words of God through Necho, king of Egypt, right? So he was killed by an archer. And that was because Necho, king of Egypt, came to him and said, look, God has told me this. I need to do this thing. But Josiah didn't recognize that as this was a thing from God. And so he went up against King Necho when he shouldn't have. And then he was killed by an archer in battle. So that was essentially the only thing he did wrong right at the end. But in terms of his whole life, he repaired the temple, he tore down the idols, he brought a nation back to following God. So I think he was one of the greatest kings of Judah in all of the Old Testament. And he doesn't always get that credit or get mentioned as such. So that's why he's my first most overlooked or underrated.
That was a good one. That was really good. I like that.
Who have you got?
Okay, so I'll give a quick rundown of Benaiah, and then afterwards I'll do my other individual. So like I mentioned last time, Benaiah, he comes from his father, I think it's Jehoiada, who's a mighty man or is a priest, and then his grandfather is I think is a priest or a mighty man. I can't remember which one. But anyhow, the point being is that when you have a father who's done something great, and you have a grandfather that's done something great, there's a lot of pressure for you to do something great. I always think, I remember we used the example last time of different footballers. Like if you take Messi, for example, like his son has to live up to who his dad is, and his godfather is Sergio Aguero. So it's not like either of the two players were like free transfers here and there. These were like some of the best players of all time. So when you have that pressure on you, it's hard to deliver because you've got all the eyes watching you. You've got expectations, not that you created, but that other people created. And then in Benaiah's situation, he went on to become the chief of I think it's pronounced Chaldeans, which is David's personal army. And he served as the chief of his personal army all throughout David's life. And towards the end of David's life, there was Joab. Joab switched sides again, and then Benaiah murdered Joab under instruction, and then became the army of the commander of the army for Solomon. And he never had to fight a battle for Solomon, even though he had fought so many battles for David. He didn't need to fight a single battle for Solomon. So the way I think about it is, you have somebody who came from a lineage of like the best heritage, the best seed you could want, and then he over delivered. And he didn't just over deliver; he became the commander of one of the most powerful armies in the world at the time. He had all this experience from fighting with David, but he never had to use any of it when he was with Solomon. So it kind of like shows as well from Solomon's reign that Solomon had the best of the best. Like when you see the temple, I think it took 7.5 years to build or something. The amount of gold that was on the inside was in the 20s, I think 26 tons or something like that of gold. And at the same time, he had one of the most experienced commanders of the army you could ask for, one of the most loyal commanders of the army that you could ask for, but he didn't need to use him, and that was Benaiah. So I think he's special for me, mainly because of what he accomplished, but also because of if his dad was a farmer, he wouldn't have that pressure. But because his dad was a great man, his granddad was a great man, that adds a lot of pressure. And I think the context we spoke about last time was when you're like a pastor's child, there's a certain expectation you have to follow. I don't know if you feel that, but probably not mine, maybe because my parents became pastors a lot when I was only a few years ago. So for me, it was kind of like normal. Yeah, I think to have the expectation and then to deliver something special. So that's my first person. The second person I mentioned him when you mentioned Jay, I started thinking of a name. One guy came to mind, and I mentioned him. He's Jehu, and I really like Jehu in the Bible, and I think same for yours, as in he had a good first 50%. The last 50% was was a bit of a downhill fall. But what I like about him was that he was ruthless. And sometimes when you think of the word ruthless, I remember when I first started working in the corporate world, and you think ruthless, you think like Harvey Specter, like firing somebody on the spot. But I think the true meaning of the word ruthlessness means just to do what needs to be done and just execute upon it. And when you think of Jehu's life, when he heard from, it wasn't even Elisha that spoke to him. It was one of Elisha's servants that spoke to him and told him he was going to be king. And he believed the word of a servant and went forward from that word. And then if you take it later on in the chapter, when he's riding towards the gates of the city of Jezreel, I think it was, they sent a watchman to him, and the watchman said to him, like, what do you have to do with peace? And he says, sorry, the watchman asked him, like, I think he says, what do you have to do with peace? And then Jehu says to him, like, what do you have to do with peace? Turn around and ride behind me. And I quite like his intensity and the focus. They didn't just send one watchman, they sent two. And again, the same response, like, what do you have to do with peace? What do you have to do with my purpose? What do you have to do with me being here? Turn around and ride behind me. And I think sometimes when you look in life, there's always so many lessons to learn from, in the sense that when we're going towards our purpose, when we're going towards the destination, there are going to be reasons to stop. There are going to be voices telling you, your father tried doing this, but he didn't pull it off. What about you? But I think to myself, you need to have like the ruthlessness of Jehu to be able to just go forward, regardless of what people are saying to you, regardless of what other voices are going around, and just be able to plow forward. And then more than that, when they saw Jehu from a distance, they said that he drives furiously. So he drives like a madman, drives crazy, right? And they could see this from a distance away. And the point is that people knew who Jehu was from a distance. And let's say, for example, like Christian, if if I see you driving into the parking lot, people could be like, "Oh, Christian, oh, you're that generous guy, the guy that's always got time for people." And I think a reflection of Jehu's life was that people knew him from a distance. People knew the way he drove, and for us, we can take that as a lesson in that we should also be known for something. How generous we are, we're good with our time, we're wise people, whatever it may be. So I think there's lots of lessons from Jehu to learn, and he served as king. He wiped out the bloodline. So he did a lot of good things, but at the same time, like you mentioned, the second half of his life was not ideal, was not great. But I think for what he did and also what he represents, in that he was known for something, and he also was able to plow through something, plow towards a goal, plow towards his objective, regardless of what people said. So I'd say, yeah, Benaiah, Jehu, and then I got two others. I'm not sure between the other two.
You got two others. Okay. How did Jehu die? Out of
I don't
interest.
know, actually.
Okay. Okay. You said he fell off a bit towards the end, right?
Yeah, he kind of just, I think it was like idol worship, maybe.
Oh, what? That bad? Like he very much fell off.
Yeah,
Okay. Hmm. No, interesting character. There is a lot of J's, aren't there? Because
yeah.
my next one is J. So I've got, and this one might be a little bit more well known, but I still think kind of underrated. Is Jabez.
I don't know who Jabez is.
You don't know who Jabez is?
No.
Okay. To be honest, not that much is known about Jabez because he's
Mm.
only in a very brief passage of scripture in First Chronicles chapter 4 from around verse 9 to 10. So we know he was a descendant of Judah, okay? But I don't think it specifically says who his father or his mother were. But what it does say is his mother gave birth to him in pain, which is why she called his name Jabez. So Jabez means sorrow or pain. So
Yeah.
that's how he got his name. But so in First Chronicles 4, verse 9, it says Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. Now, why or what exactly that meant, it doesn't give any more detail, but he was more honorable than his brothers. And then he prayed a prayer in verse 10, which is somewhat well known, where he called on the God of Israel, saying, "Oh God, that you would bless me and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain." And then it says, God granted his request. So maybe this was part of the reason he was more honorable than his brothers, is that he called out to God, he relied on God, asked him to bless him and enlarge his territory, asked for his hand to be with him and to be kept from evil. And then also that he would not cause pain, which is an interesting phrase because he was born in pain. His name basically means pain. And it's almost like the identity that was put on me, may I not cause that to others. And may that not be what defines me.
That was really good.
May you enlarge my territory. May your hand be what's with me. And God granted his request. Now, that's pretty much all that it says about Jabez. It doesn't say what he did, where he lived, anything else that happened, but just that prayer is recorded there for a reason, that this was a man who was honorable because he recognized God as the person he needed, the one he needed to live his life in an honorable way and to not live out the identity that was put on him from birth, and the identity of pain that was put on him. So yeah, that's Jabez. But yeah, not much else is known about him. He's only in there
That's a good
briefly.
one.
But yeah,
I'm gonna look at that one up afterwards. I like that. Okay.
who's your next one then?
Okay, my next person is he's like I wouldn't say he's underrated, but I don't think he'd if you think of like heroes of faith in the Bible or whatever, he wouldn't make your top 20 list, but he's a big deal nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go for Nehemiah.
Okay, yeah, good shout.
So this guy, the walls of Jerusalem were burnt down and they were destroyed. And it says in the Bible that he was upset, like he was visually upset in his face. And the king noticed that he was upset. And I like this because if the king noticed that he was upset, it meant that he was consistently happy, consistently good, consistently optimistic. For him to have an off day was unusual. I think when you work with different people, some people have an off day every day, but Nehemiah was consistently good, and the one day he had an off day, everyone realized because it was so unusual.
Mm-hmm.
More than that, the king asked him, "What do you request?" And Nehemiah didn't hold back. And I feel sometimes if we had an off day at work, if I stick with the corporate example, we had an off day at work and our boss goes to us, "Oh, what would you like?" And really and truly, maybe you want to say, "I want 3 days off this week. I want to finish early today and have the rest of the week off." But you'll, out of whatever reason, and I'm not trying to say this is bad with other people, I've done it myself as well, but you maybe say like, "Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it," just because you want to be polite. But in Nehemiah's instance, this guy just went off on one. He said everything he needed, all the materials, the amount of people, and then he requested all of this. Plus, the king also gave him soldiers to accompany him for safety. And I like this because it shows Nehemiah he understood his position. Like he understood he was a child of God. And he asked with authority. And when he asked with authority, the favor of God, the grace of God went with him. He didn't just get what he wanted, he also had protection come alongside him. And it's like me saying, "Oh, I'd like a day off. I'd like this, this, this." And then God says, "Yes, you need all those things, but you also need one other thing. I'll give it to you anyway." I think sometimes when we take that step of courage just to ask for what we want, God piles on a bit extra because that is who he is.
Mm.
So this is just from Nehemiah chapter 1. But I like him because he was a consistent character and he had the courage to ask for what he wanted. And he got what he wanted plus more.
Mm. No, that's good. That reminds me of Ephesians 3:20, isn't it? That God can do much more than you ever ask or imagine, according to the power at work in you.
Yeah.
No, that's really good.
All right, your final one.
Okay, final one. Another J. You might know this one. I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure how well known he is, but he has a mention in Hebrews 11, which is like the hall of faith for people of faith. Okay, so he's
Yeah.
mentioned in there. That's why he's on my list. So the person is Jephthah. Jephthah. Do you know about Jephthah?
No.
All right, another one for you to check out when you get a chance, and
Yeah.
anyone else. But I'll tell you a bit about Jephthah. Okay, so he was a judge over Israel. Judges 11. Now, Jephthah, it says in Judges 11:1, he was a mighty man of valor, but he was the son of a harlot. Okay, so his brothers kicked him out of his father's house and out of their land because he was the son of a harlot. It's like, you're illegitimate, so you can't be here with us. And so he had two identities placed on him from his birth. One was, you're illegitimate, you're the son of a harlot, you're nobody, you can't be part of this family or this land, right? But the identity from God on him was, he is a mighty man of valor. And so anyway, he was kicked out of their land. But then the time came where the people of Ammon, which were, and other peoples nearby, they made war against Israel. And the brothers, the same ones who kicked him out, now called on him and said, can you please come and help us fight Ammon? Because we kind of recognize that you're a mighty man, right? And so obviously Jephthah is like, so you guys kicked me out, now you want me to come and fight and save you, right? And so, okay, he says to them, if the Lord delivers them to me, I'll be your head. Basically, I'll become leader over Israel then. And they said, yeah, that's fine. So he comes back, and it says the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he advanced toward the people of Ammon. So again, he's someone who, he just runs towards the enemy. It says he advanced towards them. He just went straight at them. Now, this is where he went wrong. Okay, he made a mistake. He made a vow to God and said, if you deliver the people of Ammon into my hand and you save Israel through my hand, the first thing that comes out of my house when I get back home, I will sacrifice it to you. He made that vow. Okay. Now, the Spirit of the Lord was on him. He advanced towards the people of Ammon, and God delivered them into his hands. So he saved Israel from the people of Ammon. And so he became leader, judge over Israel. Now, he gets back home, and the first thing that comes out of his house is his daughter, his only daughter. And because he made this vow to God, it says he was exceedingly sorrowful because of what he's done, what he said rashly. And I'm not sure how old his daughter was, but his daughter said, look, whatever you've promised to God, just do it. Just give me, I think it was a month, or was it 3 months, to kind of weep for my life, basically, because she'd never been married or anything. It's like, virgin daughter that is never going to see the rest of her life now. So his daughter went away to the mountains for 3 months, came back, and he fulfilled the vow. So his daughter was killed. But yeah, he was a great leader over Israel. He made a major mistake with that vow, but he's mentioned, as I said, in Hebrews 11, verse 32. It recognized Jephthah as one of the great people of faith who subdued kingdoms, won mighty battles, and for that reason, if he's mentioned in Hebrews 11, he makes my list as an underrated or overlooked character.
Does it go on about him afterwards, after he gives his daughter to the Lord?
No, not much. Doesn't say much after that.
Okay.
I think not sure how long he judged Israel. I think it does say, but I can't remember exactly what it is. we can check after. But yeah, it doesn't say too much else.
Okay, I like it. I mean, it ended sadly, but it
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah. See, there's so many interesting characters who did great things, but then it also records their flaws as well, like where they went wrong, which I think is really good. I mean, part of that shows me that the Bible's inspired as well because of how honest it is. You know, if you were making up a book and trying to make people look good, you'd probably leave out certain things, right?
Yeah.
The Bible actually gives the detail of, look, this is what they did, but this is why they're great, which I think is really good. But okay,
Yeah. Agreed.
who's your last one?
No, I've done my three.
Oh, is that your three?
Yeah,
Okay.
Benaiah, Nehemiah, and Jehu.
Oh, okay, nice. Okay, so
Listen, let me shut my window.
mine was Josiah, Jabez, and Jephthah, which
Yeah,
I think, yeah, really
they had a
good,
good three.
really good lists. I'm sure there's others we could name. But yeah, if people haven't heard of those characters, found them interesting, hopefully it was helpful, and recommend looking them up. So in terms of what else, what's what else is on your mind? I know you've got something you're
All
eager to share.
right.
So
Sure.
now's your time. Tell
Okay.
me.
So if we go back to like Hall of Fame Bible verses, you'd probably say, if you know the truth will set you free. And I always thought about this, and I think it's like so easy to say the words, but to understand the words is something else. So to get a better understanding, this is from John chapter 8:32. So it's a verse that's written in Greek. And then the main words here is to know. So I WhatsApp this to you, but there's the word to know on an academic level. I think it's pronounced zero or something along those lines. Maybe saying it wrong. And that's just to know the words, to be able to say, if I said to you, like, God is good all the time, God is good, He's my healer, He's my provider, He's Jehovah Rapha, this, that, and the other. But I just know it on like a really basic level, as in I'm literally reading it off a page. Whereas there's the word of ginosko, which means to know with a revelation there, that truly have a deep understanding of who God is or who a person is. So when it says to know the truth, it's the word ginosko, not to just have a very baseline understanding, but to truly and deeply know who God is. So when it says to know the truth, and the truth is three things all in one. So the truth means reality, it means fact, and it means spiritual truth all in one. I think the words I lived have. And if you go to Hebrew and you look up what the word truth is, there's no word that's as comprehensive as there is this word in Greek. I think the closest word you get in Hebrew that translates to truth is a word that is faithfulness. So this truth that's used in John 8:32 is a complete factual, reality, and spiritual, all three in one. So if you gnosko the truth, if you have a deep understanding of the truth, then the truth will make you free. And to be free means to be free of liability, free of debt, means you don't need to make any payment for yourself. And then I was thinking to myself, if I were to explain this to somebody, if I had to know the truth will set you free. Like the next question naturally they would ask is, what is the truth? So in John 14 it says, Jesus said to him, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So three words here: the way, the truth, the life. And what's interesting about all these three words is these are all what I would call it. I don't know if this is like grammatically correct, but they're all dual tense words. So they're all present tense and future tense words. So the way, the truth, and the life. Now, the way in Greek means two things. It means, number one, it means a path. It's like a physical path. And it also means metaphorical direction. So if I say to you, Christian, go east, there's no, like, east is east, right? There's no like, there may not be a path east, but to go east means to go east. But if I say to you, walk on that path, it's the same word. And I like it because it's like God guides our footsteps, but He also guides our thoughts and our hearts. So it puts desires and our thoughts in our minds. but at the same time, he also guides our footsteps. So he is the way. And again, the truth. So the truth is the same word as in John 8:32, which means the truth of fact, the truth of reality, and the spiritual truth. And then it says life. So this is physical life and also life in the future, so spiritual life. And the final bit of the verse, when I used to read it through, I think, I'm the way, the truth, the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And when you read the through me part, in my mind, I always go back to playing like PlayStation or whatever, and you've got to go through the final boss to get to the end. So when it says like through me, in my mind, it always processed as, okay, I need to do something good to get to the end, or I need to defeat something to get to the end. But through me mean the Greek is by, so literally it's because of me. No one gets to the Father because of me. So to get to the Father, you have to understand what I did. Going back to, you have to gnosko the truth, have a deep understanding of the truth, and the truth will make you free. Sorry, just jumping around, going back to John 8:32 when it says, know the truth and the truth will make you free. That free at the end, if you think of the word free, if I said to you, Christian, there's an apple on the side of the road. That apple is, or if we're in Sainsbury's, it could be there's an apple, is buy one and there's one free. So it's a noun free. Or if I say I'm freeing you from prison, it's a verb free. In John 8:32, it's a verb. So know the truth. If you have an understanding of the truth will go to work, as opposed to the truth being a noun. So in order to activate, or in order for the truth to go to work, all you have to do is to have a gnosko, to have a deep revelation of the truth. And then going back to John 14:16, it says, the way, the truth, the life, no one gets to the Father except through me, on account of what Jesus did, because of what Jesus did. So that really helped me. In summary, like that really helped me to understand that it wasn't, I don't need to do anything to be free. I just need to know God and have a revelation of God. And on the flip side, we get to the Father because of what Jesus done. It's not like we have to go through Jesus and like fight Jesus or whatever. It's because of what Jesus has done. That's how we get to the Father.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's so much in that no, that's really powerful. Because, okay, picking up on some of the stuff you said in terms of the revelation of Jesus, there's different dimensions of Jesus, right? He's revealed in the Bible, firstly in the Gospels, as the Son, right? And that speaks to his credentials as the one who's perfect and able to redeem mankind, because he's not just a man, he's also the Son of God, right? So he has a divine aspect to him, and that gives him the credentials to do what he needs to. So he's revealed as the Son. He's revealed as, there's also revelation in his name. There's the name Jesus, because the angel said to Mary, his name shall be Jesus, and he shall bring salvation, right? So within the name of Jesus is every aspect of salvation. It's another dimension of Jesus, understanding his name. You've got the Christ, and that is, I believe Christ is the anointed one. So I think when you know him as the Christ, you see him as the one who now initiates your ministry and your work as a believer, right? Because he asked Peter, who do you say I am? Or he asked, who do people say I am? And he said, who do you say I am? And Peter said, you're the Christ. And on this revelation, I will build my church. So it's on the revelation of Jesus as the Christ that the church is built and the work of the gospel is now done. So it's another dimension of Jesus, is the Christ. And so there's all these there's so much in Jesus, but ultimately everything he's done, the entire package of salvation has come through him. and what he did on the cross. And I think you're right in knowing the truth is to come into all the realities of Jesus and to understand them. The more you understand them, like you said, the truth goes to work and makes you free. And that was the other thing I was going to say in that verse, John 8:32, I think it is. I think in some versions it says the truth sets you free, but really it's the truth makes you free. So the truth is what makes you into someone who's free. It doesn't just open the door for you to walk out. It literally makes you into another person who is free. So yeah, just some things that came to mind about what you said there, which I thought was really good.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you look at the Hebrew and the Greek, like, I mean, you know this very well. There's so many words in Greek that can mean different things, different interpretations. But in Hebrew, sometimes it's like very literal. So it's a nice contrast between the two. But the reason why I was researching this and just like in more detail was on Monday evening I was playing football, injured my ankle, so I rolled it, and I didn't want to be injured. I don't think anybody likes being in pain. But I know that freeing in the know the truth and the truth will make you free is free of anything not positive, so anything negative, right? Be it like a pain in the ankle. So I was thinking to myself, like, do I know the truth? Because if I know the truth, then I really shouldn't be feeling pain. Then that's kind of like how it went down the line. So do I deeply have an understanding of the truth?
Yeah, it's a journey of knowing it deeper and deeper. The journey to Gnosko.